1778AO.
Thank you.
All righty, I think that's it.
Thank you, Your Honor. The interpreter will disconnect.
All righty, thank you. Your name, sir?
Antonio Atkins.
Mr. Atkins, you're here today because you were arrested on charge of trespass after warning. I have reviewed the charging affidavit and I do find sufficient probable cause. Is there an offer in the case?
Yes, Your Honor. The offer is an adjudication, credit time served, and no return. Here. The 4305 North Pine Hills Road.
And Mr. Atkins, do you wish to enter a plea and resolve your case to time served?
No contest.
All right, go ahead and sign that. All right, sir, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
Pay attention.
No.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past? Thanks. All right, you understood the rights on this form. Do you have any questions about anything on this form?
No.
You understand that this is punishable by up to a maximum of 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea could result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Yeah, you understand that it's punishable by up to 60 days and up to a $500 fine. That's not going to happen, but that's the maximum. And that also, if you're not a citizen, that could result in you being deported. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. I will accept your plea. I'll judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's a total of $273. And you have to pay that any time in the next 12 months. Now, finally, I want to order that you not return to 4305 North Pine Hills Road for a period of 1 year. If you do go there, and I'm made aware of that, you are subject to a contempt citation. All righty, you'll be released as to this case. Your name, sir? Mr. Maynard, you're here today because you were arrested on 2 charges, burglary of a conveyance and petty theft, 2 priors. I've reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. On the burglary, the bond is $3,500. On the petty theft, $100. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to have any guns or weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and do not return to 410 27th Street. Okay? Thank you.
Is this the same, I was here last week?
I don't think so.
It's a new case.
Yeah, it's a new case. This is from yesterday. It's tough when you have so many cases, you know, breaking into so many. Your name, sir?
Samuel Peyot.
Okay. All right, sir, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of 2 charges. Actually, looks like it's from a, hang on. From a probable cause warrant. Count 1's conspiracy to sell or deliver a controlled substance, bond set amount of $5,000, and conspiracy to sell or deliver cocaine, $5,000. I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
And he is out on bond, Your Honor? Taking any action on that?
Revoke that bond, there'll be no bond. Yeah, the petty theft. 5,000, count 1, just state them, yeah. Your name, sir?
Leroy Christopher Quinton Royal IV.
All righty.
Your Honor, may I speak when I have a chance?
What's that?
May I speak when I have a chance? I'd like to plead no contest in advance.
Well, I don't know that the state's going to be prepared to offer a plea in this case today. You're here because you were arrested on charge of attempted burglary of a conveyance.
Yes, they said I touched McDonald's.
I have reviewed that, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause. So we'll set a bond in the amount of $3,500, and I'll appoint a public defender. You're not to return to the scene if you do bond out.
Can I plead no contest because I don't have the money right now to bond out?
I don't think the state is prepared to make an offer today, are you?
State does not have an offer this
They
time.
don't have an offer at this point. Now, your assistant public defender can talk to the state that's gonna be assigned to the case, and maybe they can get it worked out for you.
Get a little bond reduced.
But I can't take a plea from you today. Alrighty, good luck.
Your Honor, before we get too far, Peloton Cologne, the bond you revoked, could you appoint us on the out on bond?
Yes, yes. Your name, sir?
Nicholas Cheatham Starks.
All right, sir, you're here today. You were arrested for 2 charges: sale and delivery of fentanyl and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. And the bonds on the count 1, sale and delivery, is $5,000, and the unlawful use of a communication device is $1,500. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Is that all he has here today? Yeah, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol if you do bond out. So the rest of this stuff is not here today.
Yeah, he was seen previously on those.
All righty. Thank you, sir.
I will waive the appearance, Your Honor.
All righty. In 2023 CF 1740, find probable cause for the charge of petty theft with 2 priors. And set bond in the amount of $1,000. Appoint a public defender. Then in the second case, 2023 CF 1743, or excuse me, 1741. Find probable cause for the same offense, petty theft with 2 priors, $1,000, appoint a public defender. And 1743, find probable cause for petty theft for 2 priors, $1,000 bond, appoint a public defender.
And state would just ask for no return on all of those?
Yeah, no return to the scene on each one. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. Okay. Your name, sir?
Kirby,
What was the last name?
Kirby, C-U-R-B-Y.
Happened to Hussein. Oh, okay. All right. All right, Mr. Kirby, you're here for arraignment on your violation of pretrial release,
We'll
isn't it?
we'll enter a plea of not guilty, I think.
All right. We'll set this for pretrial in Division 50.
It's gonna be March 6th at 9 o'clock in courtroom 4E.
All
Can I
right.
get a copy of the affidavit?
I don't have it, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't have that. It's just set for. Your name, sir? Mr. Lowe, you're here for arraignment on your trespass.
Did you see that? It said it wasn't served. Is it served?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can we go back to the prior case?
Yep.
It says summons has not been served. I just want to make sure that maybe why he doesn't know.
Uh-oh.
On the top of my arraignment
Yeah.
sheet, it says.
I don't show, I just showed that there was one issued. It doesn't say
I would ask
unserved.
that it be sent back to the state for service.
I don't have it. State, do you have it as served?
I'm double checking, Your Honor.
So clearly he's in on something else then?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
I see a request to have it reissued. Let me check my investigator notes.
All right, I'll send it back to state to be for service. Okay, Mr. Lowe, you're here for pretrial on your trespass case and domestic violence assault. We'll enter not guilty pleas for you, and we'll set that for pretrial in Division 50. Okay,
March 6th at 9 o'clock in courtroom 4E.
March 6th will be the pretrial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Muhammad Hussein?
Yeah, may I approach with the state?
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I guess. I'm in jail. Well, I mean, technically, there isn't a bond on the PTD anymore because that all gets, when you go to PTD, the conditions of release are gone, so. And what I've been doing in most of those is just not taking any action. He'll get kicked out and then he'll get sent back, and then he'll have to just deal with it that way. Okay? All right, so, Mr. Hussein, you're here today for two charges, DUI, or driving under the influence, and driving and a refusal to submit the BAC test. I do find sufficient probable cause, bond set in the amount of $500 on each of those. If you do bond out, you're not to drive without a valid Florida license, obviously not allowed to drive if you're intoxicated, and also no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. Okay?
And there's a hold on him. Can that hold be lifted?
The hold for the PTD?
The PTD,
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'll take no action on that. So that'll be-
Okay. So will he be able to bond out today?
Yep, you should. Okay. Mr. Collins?
I will waive your honor.
All right, I do find probable cause, set bond in the amount of $1,000. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, no contact with Carolyn Lowe, and no return to 808 West Central Boulevard, the Christian Service Center. Point of Public Defender.
I will waive your honor.
You find sufficient probable cause on the petty theft charge. I will stay that bond at $500, point of public defender. No return and no contact, no guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol. He's out on bond on another petty theft, and I'll revoke that bond, there's no bond. Name, sir?
Roy Ellis?
All right, Mr. Ellis, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of petty theft. I reviewed the charging affidavit. There is sufficient probable cause. Bond set amount of $500 on that. I will appoint a public defender to represent you on that.
On the, out on bond, your honor, I'd ask that you take no action. It has not been filed. He was arrested, looks like the 24th of December. And also, I would ask that you appoint us. He has no attorney appointed.
All right, hasn't been filed. I'll take no action, and I'll appoint a public defender on that additional case as well. Your name, sir?
Nestor William Figueroa Medina, sir.
All righty. Mr. Figueroa, you're here today because you're arrested on the charge of trespass after warning. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause.
And state did convey an offer to Mr. Figueroa of an adjudication, credit time served, and no return to the publics on North Goldenrod Road.
And Mr. Figueroa would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest, your honor.
Okay. Is that right, Mr. Figueroa? You want to enter a plea of no contest to the trespass?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
You understood all the rights on this form and signed it, I can see. Do you have any questions about any of the rights on the form? You understand that this is punishable by up to a year in the county jail, up to a $1,000 fine, that the entry of your plea would result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. I do find sufficient factual basis. I'll accept your plea. I'll judge you guilty, be sentenced to time served. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's a total of $273, and I'll give you 12 months to get that paid. And finally, I'm going to order that you not return to the Publix on North Goldenrod for a period of 1 year. If you do go back there and the court's made aware of that, you are subject to a contempt citation. All righty? You'll be released as to this case.
Are you taking any action on his
And
open case?
no action on the other case, since he pled. Your name, sir?
Gary Gandy.
Okay, Mr. Gandy, you're here today because you were arrested on 2 charges, disorderly conduct and resisting an officer without violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause. The bonds are $100 on the disorderly conduct, $500 on the resisting without violence. There's no offer in that case?
Not at this time.
And Your Honor, I'd ask that you take no action on the out on bond. He was arrested December 13th, and no information has been filed.
Take no action on that. And I'll appoint a public defender on the new case. Your name, sir? What about Simon Ramanan? Simon Ramanan? Booking.
Mr. Kirby was served. Mr. Kirby was served.
Your name? Yeah, I don't. This was just blank. Oh, it got stuck. Your name, sir?
Ed Kennard.
All right, Mr. Kennard, you're here today because you were arrested on the charge of trespass in a structure conveyance. I've reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. And I'll set bond in the amount
Here's
of
an-
$500.
There's an offer to resolve
All righty?
right here. With an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and court costs, Mr. Kennard would like to accept an enter plea of no contest.
Is that right, Mr. Kennard?
I don't,
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have the case number, Your Honor.
Hold on a second. 2023 MM 88 AW.
Thank you.
So you wish to enter plea of no contest, Mr. Kennard?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, sir.
And this plea form, you read over that and understood the rights. Do you have any questions about the rights that you're waiving that are on the form?
Yes.
You understand? You yes or no?
No,
All right.
no
You
question.
understand that this is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea would result in deportation if you're not a citizen. You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll accept your plea. We'll judge you guilty, impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's a total of $273, and I'll give you 12 months to get that paid, and you'll be released as to this case. All righty, you're all set.
Your Honor, regarding Mr. Kirby, who was the arraignment that we didn't know was served or not, he was served, and I do have the receipt of service.
Okay.
I believe they already set the court date, so you can just leave it.
If he was served, then we can just
Leave
Leave it
set
as-
for the pretrial.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure,
Okay,
so he's not brought back again.
and I'll appoint the
Thank
PD.
you.
Okay, your name, sir?
Simon Ramnan.
All righty.
6:30.
All right, sir, you're here today because you were arrested on the charge of petty theft and trespass. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause for those. The bonds are $250 on the petty theft and $500 on the trespass, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Etienne Davis. Your name, ma'am?
Ayana Dillard, sir? Your Honor?
Ms. Dillard, you're here today. Get your file. First of all, because you were arrested. All right. You're arrested on the charge of driving while license suspended. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. And bond is set. What's that? I think that's it, yeah. Bond set in the amount of $500, and I'll appoint a public defender for you on that. And then you also had a charge of providing false information to a law enforcement officer. I have reviewed that charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause to set bond of $500 on that as well, and also appoint a public defender for you in that case too. So you have PD in both cases.
Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your name, ma'am? Okay, Ms. Jenkins, you're here today because you were arrested on a warrant for failing to appear on a driving while license suspended charge. The bond on that is $1,000. And does she have a public defender?
No, oh, yes.
Okay,
No, she doesn't. I was looking at the wrong person. She doesn't have an attorney, Your Honor, but there was an offer to resolve
all righty.
with a withhold of adjudication, credit time served, and court costs. And Ms. Jenkins would like to accept it into a plea of no contest.
Okay. Is that what you want to do, Ms. Jenkins? You want to enter a plea of no contest to the charge of driving while suspended?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol today?
No.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No.
All right, that plea form that you just signed, you understood the rights on that? Do you have any questions about the rights on that form?
No.
Now, you understand that driving while license suspended is punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your plea may result in deportation if you're not a citizen. Yes? And you also understand that, that this charge does enhance. Every time you get another one, it can be, next time it could be a first-degree misdemeanor, then after that, if you get a third or fourth, it could be a felony. And also, if you get 3 of these charges within a 5-year period, you lose your license for 5 years. This is your first one, according to my looking at your driving record, so you're okay. All right, I'll accept your plea. I will withhold adjudication. You sentenced the time you served. I'll impose court costs and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's a total of $301, and I will give you 12 months to get that paid. All right, and you'll be released as to this case.
Was that on both?
Oh, I only see one. That was Jenkins, not
That
the
was
next one.
Jenkins. That was just the
Sierra.
driving while license suspended.
Okay, I had them out of order.
Yeah, I know how it is. I'm flipping the wrong pages all the time over here. All right, your name, sir?
Pedro Machado Schwen.
And there's an offer to resolve both cases. Your
All right, so you're here on 2 cases for failing to appear. One, a no valid driver's license. You failed to appear on that. And what was the other one? No motorcycle license. I have reviewed the charging affidavits, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause on those. You do wish to enter pleas of no contest to both of those? Is that right?
Yes, sorry.
All right. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Have you suffered from or been treated for any mental illness in the past?
No, Your Honor.
You read over your plea form, understood the rights, and signed it on here on the bottom. Do you have any questions about anything on this form?
No, Your Honor.
You understand that both of these are punishable by up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine, and that the entry of your pleas could result in deportation if you're not a citizen.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I do find sufficient factual basis as to 2020 CT 4030, the no valid driver's license. I will accept your plea. And that is, 4030 AO. Accept your plea. I'll withhold adjudication. Be sentenced to time served, post court costs, and a $50 cost of prosecution. That's a total of $301. As to 4031, I will accept your plea. To the charge of no motorcycle endorsement. I will withhold adjudication, impose court costs, $50 cost of prosecution, and time served. That'll also be $301, and you'll have 18 months to get both of those paid, and you'll be released as to these cases.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's crazy, whoever that was. No bonded on a no valid, and no motorcycle endorsement. Crazy.
I haven't even got it.
Those new judges.
What was the last name?
Your name, ma'am?
Anna Allen Dixon.
I got it.
All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested on 2 charges, battery on law enforcement officer and misuse of the 911 service. I have read the charging affidavit, and there is sufficient probable cause. The bond on the bonds will be stayed, $2,500 on the battery on a law enforcement officer and $100 on the misuse of 911. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you, so I have an attorney.
Your Honor, I believe she qualifies for pretrial
Oh,
release.
does she?
Yes.
She was qualified, yes.
I would ask for pretrial release.
Okay. Oh, is that one of the ones that I got a new sheet?
That was an updated one, Your Honor.
There we go. All right, so do you want pretrial release conditions instead?
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
there's not a cash bond? All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll release your pretrial release. There's no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. Make sure you check in with with them whenever they're
Yes, sir.
requiring you to do that, okay? And again, I will appoint a public defender to
Yes, Your
represent you.
Honor. I work as a server in Orange County and near the theme park, so I'm in place.
That's fine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All righty. Your name, sir?
Elijah Baldwin.
Mr. Baldwin, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of possession of 20 grams or more of cannabis and possession of cannabis with intent to sell or deliver. If you find that there's sufficient probable cause, the bonds will be stayed, $1,000 for the possession and $150 for the sale with intent, possession with intent. I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
And are you taking any action on the open case, Your Honor?
Yeah, let me take a look at this. That's brand new. It's like literally, what, 2 days ago?
I believe, it says pretrial
no,
diversion,
it's
is
Oh,
that,
no, it's a year ago. That's
Yeah.
That's been, that,
he's in
He's
pretrial
on
diversion?
pretrial intervention.
he's still around. Oh, it's PTD? He
He's in
went to
pretrial
PTD?
diversion.
All right, I'll take no action if he's in PTD on it. They'll kick him back. Okay, you're all set. Your name, sir?
Gene Bartholomew.
All right, sir, you're here for a number of things. First of all, in 2021 CF 13799AO, you're here on a failure to appear for possession of cocaine within 1,000 feet of a place of worship with intent, possession of cocaine with intent to sell or deliver. There's no bond on either of those failure to appears. And I'll appoint a public defender if you don't already have one. Is that the only thing we got here? Oh, wait, no, there's one, the new case. In addition, you have a new case in 2023 CF 1723AO, and in that case, I do find that there's sufficient probable cause for the charges of petty theft, possession of cocaine, battery, possession of prescription drug without the proper prescription, battery on a law enforcement officer, and resisting officer without violence. The bonds will be stayed as previously in the battery on a law enforcement officer, that was $2,500. Then count 1, petty theft, $250. Count 2, possession of cocaine, $1,000. Battery, $500. The prescription, $500, and the resisting an officer with violence, $1,000. If you do bond out, there's no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol, no contact, no return.
Thank you.
And I'll appoint a public defender to
He has
represent you.
2 open cases, Your Honor. Taking any action on those?
Was that those weren't the failure to appears? I don't have these other ones.
No, it's 22 CF 5742AO and 21 CF 13542AO.
Both also drug cases.
I gotta reboot. All right, in 2022 CF 5742 AO, I broke that bond, no bond. 2021 CF 13542 AO, revoked that, no bond. Thank you. Do other judges have problems with their computers like that? I mean, it's just constant. Your name, ma'am? Ms. Brown, you're here because you're arrested from a probable cause warrant for the charge of unlawful or exploitation of an elderly person. And the bond on that is $5,000. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to have any contact with any witnesses or victim. No guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender. Your name, ma'am?
Vicky Calloway.
All right, Ms. Calloway, you're here for a couple things. First of all, the first case is a charge of child abuse with great bodily harm. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. The bond on that is $5,000. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to return to the 2484 Century Palm Drive address or have any contact with I don't have names because it's
Because of
Marcy Love. So
Marcy's.
no contact with the alleged victim. And in the additional case, which is 2023 MM 48 AA, a battery charge, I do find sufficient probable cause, set bond amount of $500 on that. No contact and also no return to the same place. No guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
I will waive, Your Honor.
All right. And in Dickerson's case, that's 2023 CF 1764A, would find sufficient probable cause for possession of methamphetamine. Set bond amount of $1,000, no guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol, and appoint a public defender. All right, your name, sir?
Sergio Mercado.
There it is. Okay. Mr. Mercado here today because you're arrested off a probable cause warrant. Excuse me, for the charge of possession of cannabis with intent to sell or deliver. Bond is the amount of $2,500. Not to possess any guns, drugs, weapons, or alcohol. If you do bond out, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Excuse me. They arrested me over a blunt. I have a blunt I buy in the store.
What?
I want to talk about your case, all right? Let me just tell you, you're here today because you were arrested on a charge of possession of methamphetamine and MDMA. I have read the charging affidavit. There is sufficient probable cause. Bond is one.
I think.
This is Fritzner, right?
Oh, wait.
Is that right? Your name, sir?
Fritzner.
Okay. Bond's amount of $1,000, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. You're not to possess any guns or drugs or any weapons or alcohol if you do bond out.
Am I?
Your name, sir?
Billy Gill.
All right, Mr. Ginn. You're here today because you were arrested on a charge of failing, from a probable cause warrant for failing to register with the DMV, I think it was.
Yes, sir.
And I'll set bond in the amount of $1,000. I'll appoint a public defender to represent you in order that you, as condition of that bond, that you register within 48 hours of your release.
Thank you, sir.
Your name, sir?
Alex Heberstock.
I have PC on this case, Your Honor.
See, this might be the one.
State agrees, Your Honor. It states there were two people within the vehicle.
Yeah.
And then search of the vehicle led to discovery of the fentanyl inside of a red phone case, which was weighed and presumptive positive. However, does not associate who of those two people that associates that with. So station's asking for a 24-hour reset and for you to stay the
I'll
bonds.
do that. I'll give you that, 24 hours to. So what that means is, the bonds will be stayed as they were. They're $1,100 right now, okay? But because we don't have sufficient probable cause, the state gets 24 hours to try to get more information as to how, whoa. That happens in my courtroom from time to time, and it's hit me once. It's something, that design is a bad design, because when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. So what'll happen is they'll bring you back tomorrow. If they don't have it tomorrow, then you may get released without a bond. But if they do, the bonds, they'll be the same. So you can bond out now if you wish. All right, and I will appoint a public defender for you.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're just lucky it didn't hit you, because that thing came right by your head.
Wait, what?
Your name, sir?
Michael Hathaway.
Oh, you know what? Isn't this under, it's under something else? With a D, I thought. it was.
Alpine, Ron,
Yeah, Kyle
Ronan.
Silva. Isn't it? Yeah.
Silva.
That's not mine.
All right, Mr. Hathaway, you're here because you're arrested under the name Kyle De Silva, but it was with, let's see, 8 charges. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. The charger has filed possession of counterfeit driver's license. There's 4 counts of that. First count, $2,500 bond, and then the 2, 3, and 4 are $150 bonds. Possession of hydrocodone, $150 bond. Possession of oxycodone, 2 counts of that, and that's $150 on each of those. And then finally, $100 on a possession of a prescription drug without the proper prescription. I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name?
Jamil Travis Jasmine.
Ms. Jasmine, you're here today because you were arrested on 2 charges, possession of alprazolam and possession of cannabis. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Possession of alprazolam, the bond is $1,000. Possession of cannabis, $250, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir?
Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of aggravated assault with a firearm. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. All right, I'll set bond the amount of $5,000. You're not to return to the 5055 Wellington Park Circle address. Do you have another place to go?
I can't go back to my house.
Well, that's where you were living, but there were other people living there, right?
Correct, but the victim is back in Ohio. She's not there.
What about Jordan? Who's Jordan?
Jordan is my girlfriend. We live together and we have 2 children.
And she's a witness.
Correct.
All right, first of all, you're not to have any contact with, what was the name? Just lost it. Reza Raglan, Resa, last name Ragland, no contact there. You're to keep a separate residence from her. I'll allow you to return to the Wellington Park Circle if she's not there. If she's there, you can't.
She's not there.
I don't know, I know you tell me that, right? But I'm just telling you, if she's there, that's a violation. You're not to possess any guns or weapons, any drugs or alcohol. And, I guess that's it. State anything else?
No, Judge.
Alrighty. And appoint a public defender. Yeah, he can go back since he said she's not there. Your name, sir?
Lance Johnson.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you're here because you're arrested on, for the charge of possession of methamphetamine and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. I've read the charging affidavit. You find there's sufficient probable cause. Possession of methamphetamine, $1,000. I'm going to reduce the bond to $2,500 on the possession of a weapon. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to possess any guns, drugs, weapons, or alcohol. Okay.
I understand that, sir, but
Yeah, you just want to talk to your lawyer. I wouldn't.
So Your Honor, you stayed the 1,000 on the,
1,000 on the possession and, no, wait, hold on.
and, yeah, the second charge is the,
I reduced it to 2,500 from 5,000.
okay.
It was knuckles. Your name, sir? All right, sir, you're here today because you arrested, you failed to appear on your, it's a fentanyl case.
I got the days wrong.
Yeah, on a possession of fentanyl, there's no bond on that, and I will appoint a public defender if you didn't already have one. I think you did at the time.
Yes, it is.
All righty.
I'll waive, Your Honor.
Lofton. Okay, I do find sufficient probable cause as to possession of methamphetamine, that'd be $1,000, possession of drug paraphernalia, $100. I'm gonna reduce that, and then appoint a public defender, no drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. 100, yeah. All right, updated one on Mr. Mack. All right, your name, sir?
So R&R, please.
Say your name.
Oh, Trey Mack.
Hi, Mr. Mack, you're here today because you were arrested on the charge of grand theft, third degree, and carrying concealed weapon. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Now, bonds would be $1,000 on the grand theft and $100 on the carrying concealed weapon, but you do qualify for pretrial release. So if you want to be released with pretrial conditions, you wouldn't have to post a monetary bond. But you do have to check in with the pretrial release officer. There's drug testing, there's stuff like that.
Just a question.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask? Can I?
Yeah, ask her first, just to make sure.
He would like pretrial release, Your Honor.
All right. I release you a pretrial release with additional conditions. No drugs, no weapons, no guns, no alcohol. Can't possess anything like that when you're out there. I'll appoint the public defender.
That's your turn.
Okay, thank you.
Your name, sir?
Isaiah McCree.
All right, Mr. McCree, you're here today because you were arrested on the charge of aggravated assault with a firearm and criminal mischief. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause. I will set bond in the amount of $7,500 on the aggravated assault, $500 on the criminal mischief. If you do bond out, you're not to return to 12 Argos Avenue, and you're not to have any contact with Ayala South Hall or any other witnesses in the case, not to possess any guns or weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
Yes, sir.
Your name, sir?
James Moy.
Moore, you're here today because you failed to appear in 2020 CF 11182AO. There's a number of counts. In all of those, there is no bond on all of those counts. I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
This is two different. You started at 9. You're gonna have to go back before the judge who started at 9. That's your attorney, right there. And I'll let her know you're here.
Your name, sir?
Ernest Nobles.
Mr. Nobles, you're here today because you're arrested on a probable cause warrant for the charge of attempted first-degree murder with a firearm with premeditation. There is no bond on that, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
And you're
You're to have no contact with any witnesses or return to the scene. Your name, sir?
Yes, my name is Wesley Keener Rush.
Hi, Mr. Rush, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of robbery and criminal mischief.
Yes.
I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there is sufficient probable cause. A bond will be set in the amount of $5,000 on the robbery and $100 on the criminal mischief. I will appoint a public defender to represent you. If you do bond out, you're not to return to 1792 North Chickasaw Trail or have any contact with the victim.
Let me see.
All right, and no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. All right, on Spencer Rutland,
I will waive, Your Honor.
all righty.
Call your attorney.
I do find sufficient probable cause on the petty theft and the resisting officer without violence. And the bonds will be, I'm going to reduce the bond on the petty theft to $1,000, $100 on a resisting officer without violence. Point a public defender to represent him.
See, we just asked for a no return to that Walgreens.
And no return to Walgreens. No contact with the victim. Your name, sir?
Jordan J. Sansone.
Hi, Mr. Sansone, you're here today because you were arrested on a warrant for failing to appear. There is, and that was on the battery and a Leo charge. There is no bond on that. I will appoint a public defender to represent you on that if you didn't already have one.
I'll waive, Your Honor.
On the Shargi case, you find sufficient probable cause. Actually, I think this was the one I had a question about. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Oh, maybe it is. No, okay, it's not. Sufficient probable cause as to stay the bonds, $3,000 count 1, $2,000 count 2, $2,000 count 3, and $1,000 count 4. And I'll appoint a public defender to represent him. No return to the Dillard store on South Orange Blossom Trail. Your name, sir?
Ladarius Smith.
Last name, Smith, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Smith, you're here today because you're arrested for the following charges. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find probable cause as follows. First off, trafficking in oxycodone over 28 grams. The bond on that is $500,000. Possession of cannabis with intent to sell, $15,000. Possession of a controlled substance within 1,000 feet of a business, $15,000. Possession of cannabis within 1,000 feet of a business, $10,000. And resisting officer without violence, $500. I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, would you consider reducing, since it's already set at $500,000 on count 1, would you consider reducing the $15,000 on count 2 and 3?
State. You have a
Your State will leave within your discretion. There's not, he doesn't have much criminal history. And it appears the criminal history he does have is not otherwise drug related for the most part. However, he is out on bond.
I'll reduce the count 2, 3, and 4 to 5,000, so 15 to 5, 15 to 5, and 10 to 5. And then everything else stays the same. But let's see, yeah, he was out on bond.
No, that's the standard. They're not gonna reduce it.
There we go.
I have to call the attorney. Let's see. Was already, so,
I assume that's been filed on by now?
yes.
It has, Your Honor, and given the allegations within it, the state would ask that you revoke.
I'm gonna revoke that bond to be no bond.
You were out on bond. It's committed.
That's crazy. So what do
Speak to your attorney. Oh, they can go back in front of the other judge. Your name, ma'am? Your name?
Sarita Stevens.
I'm Stevens. You're here today because you're arrested on a charge of possession of methamphetamine. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find sufficient probable cause. I'll set that bond at $1,000, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. If you bond out, you're not to possess any guns, drugs, weapons, or alcohols. Okay? Thank you. Your name, sir? Your name?
Corey Taylor.
All right, Mr. Taylor, you're here for, first of all, in 2023 CF 435AO for a probable cause warrant on a possession of methamphetamine, or excuse me, is it fentanyl? Yeah, methamphetamine. A bond set amount of $1,000 or PTR?
It was bond and PTR, Your Honor.
Okay, and with PTR conditions, okay.
Yeah, it's bond and.
He does qualify, right?
Yes, he does qualify for PTR, Your Honor.
Let me see.
So it's 1,000 with PTR?
Yeah, that's what Judge Blackman, $1,000 plus PTR. No contact with the victim, no return to Home Depot, no guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol,
They can't resolve this. You have to go downtown.
and that's it. So that's on that one. And then on 2023 CF 1760AO. Possession of alprazolam, possession of cannabis more than 20 grams, and a possession of drug paraphernalia.
Could he,
It'd be $1,000 on the alprazolam, $150 on count 2, and $150 on count 3, or $100 on count 3, and also PTR conditions.
so on the one charge, the judge wanted PTR and the bond, could he just do pretrial release on the other charges, Your Honor? Was that on everything?
Well, I could, yeah, I mean, that's fine if he wants that, since it's gonna be under PTR. So just do pretrial release on the second case.
And any conditions on the second case, Your Honor?
Yeah, same thing, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol.
No, this is all.
And I guess it's not a no return type situation, though.
And since it's marijuana, only on the marijuana, Your Honor, could he have that 30-day grace period before drug testing commences?
Well, it is alprazolam.
I don't know how long that takes to get out your system.
Uh,
I know cannabis takes the 30 days.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you ordering drug testing, Your Honor, or
Yes.
just? Okay.
Yeah. Your name, sir?
Joshua Dean Terrell.
Mr. Terrell, you're here because you're arrested on a warrant for failing to appear. And that was on your sale and delivery charge, or excuse me, is that a battery? Wait, what is battery? Yeah, battery. And there is no bond on that. I will appoint a public defender if you did not previously have a lawyer already appointed.
I have.
Yeah, you have the PD. You're gonna have to call the attorney.
So I just call my attorney on it, or?
Yeah, just get in contact with your attorney, and then he'll get in contact with the judge and see if they can get a bond set for you. Get you another court date.
I will waive, Your Honor.
All right, in 2023 CF 1771A, Mr. Williams to do find sufficient probable cause for the charge of grand theft third degree and burglary with structure. $1,000 on the grand theft third degree. All right, and I'll reduce the bond to $2,500 on the burglary with structure. No return to the U-Haul store at,
I believe it was stolen from Sky House Apartments downtown.
no, I think they show the video, 830 South Orange Blossom Trail, where they stole the truck from. Because it says they followed the truck to the Sky House. So no return to 830 Orange Blossom Trail, which is U-Haul, no return to the Sky House Apartments at 355 North Magnolia Avenue. No guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol.
You just had that one case, Your Honor.
All right, your name, sir?
Is that right?
Mr. Wright, you're here today because you were arrested, first off, in 2023 CF 1772AO for the charge of possession of cocaine. I do find sufficient probable cause, bond set amount of $1,000. No guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol if you bond out, and I will appoint a public defender on that case. And then you also had 2023 CF 1792AO, and I do find sufficient probable cause on that. I'll set bond amount of $2,500 on the fleeing attempting to elude. I'll stay the $250 bond on the no valid driver's license. Same special conditions as previously, and also put a public defender on that. Finally, you're out on bond.
It hasn't yet been filed, Your Honor. So just able to
I'll
request
take
no action.
on that, on the other case. So the one you're out on bond on, I won't take any action on it, action since they haven't filed on it yet.
Could you appoint us, Your Honor?
Yes, across the board. Well, maybe we can make it valuable here, but I'm surprised they haven't tried to pull you guys down. So, and Osceola County will be notified that you're here. Yeah, no contact with the alleged victim or their family, no return to the scene, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. And I'll appoint a public defender just on a temporary basis. Now Spanish.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jaime Sotomayor, certified federal interpreter, already sworn today. 1 second while I connect to the headset.
Alrighty.
We're connected, Your Honor.
Alrighty, your name, sir?
Goodbye. Luis Baez.
Mr. Bias, you're here today because you're arrested in two separate cases, both of violations of probation. And in both those cases, there is no bond. I will appoint a public defender to represent you on those violations of probation. And those are 2021 CF 11740AO. And this computer is very slow. The other one's 2021 CF 8827AO. Which one? It's getting slack. So it's $2,500 on the 8827.
Is there anything else for the interpreter, Your Honor?
Is that it? That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, have a good day.
You
You're
too.
welcome.
All right, your name, sir? Mr. Jackson, you're here today because you're arrested on 3 charges: aggravated stalking, domestic violence, and resisting an officer without violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit of you find probable cause. You were not living at 3301 Soho, is that right?
That's my address. But
Excuse me?
no, sir, I'm not living there no more.
You have another place to live?
Yeah.
All right. As to aggravated stalking, I set a bond amount of $1,000. The stalking to be $750, $100 on the, I'll reduce the resisting to $100. You're to have no contact whatsoever with Jennifer. Oh, wait. Well, yeah, those folks too, but most importantly, Chloe Marie Jackson. You're not to return to 3301 Soho Street. You're not to have any contact with any witnesses. And the other victim, alleged victim, is Krista Perkins. No contact with her whatsoever. Not to possess any guns or drugs, no weapons or alcohol, or use any of those items. And I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
And PTR, will the injunction, you think, be served on him while he's here at the jail?
They can if they come get him.
Yeah, they'll typically put a hold in for him.
Bring it out here. Your name, sir?
Esteban.
All right, sir, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of, for a probable cause warrant for the charge of aggravated battery on a pregnant person. I have reviewed that. Do you have another place to go? Where are you gonna live?
I don't really have anywhere to go right now.
And were you were living at, the Spring Creek Drive address? Is that where you were living?
Prior to 705 Suzette, I was living at 2323 Beach Ave. And that's when I moved to 705.
All right. Set bond in the amount of $750. You're to have no contact with Harmony Charisse Walter. No contact with her. Keep a separate residence from her. Not to return to her residence. Not to possess any guns or weapons, any drugs or alcohol. And to abide by any, is there CCF in this case?
I don't believe so.
And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir?
Sykes.
Mr. Sykes, you're here today because you're arrested for 3 charges. False imprisonment, obstructing or justice by hindering communication with law enforcement, and battery domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at the Roger Babson Road address?
Yes, sir.
All right, you have another place to go.
Yes, sir.
Was Esther Tessier living there also?
Yes, sir.
All right, as to the false imprisonment, domestic violence, is set bond amount of $1,000. The obstructing justice would be $100 and $500 on the battery domestic violence. You'd have no contact with Esther Tessier. You're not to return to that address or to keep a separate residence from Ms. Tessier. You're not to return to the 1307 Roger Babson Road address. You can go back there one time with the law enforcement if you have items or personal things that you need to pick up to help you with your living. No guns, no drugs, no weapons, no alcohol. And it appears that DCF may be involved. If DCF does enter the case and enters an order, you're to abide by that as well. I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, ma'am? I'm sorry, what was the name?
Evgenia Sapiro.
Okay. All right, ma'am, you're here today because you're arrested on the charge of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find there's sufficient probable cause. There's nobody here today? And the Edmundshire Drive address, is that where you were living?
No, sir, that was just a,
That's a Airbnb. You don't live here, right?
no, sir, I do not.
And do you live with Kasi Ali Hassan?
No, sir, I do not.
They live here. He lives here?
He lives here, yes, sir.
All right,
I was just visiting for our anniversary.
okay. Now, you do qualify for a pretrial release. I can have you released pretrial with pretrial conditions, which wouldn't require a monetary bond, but there are conditions that go along with that. You'd have to stay in contact with a pretrial release officer, and there may be drug testing and a number of other things. But you don't have to post a bond. Would you rather have that, or would you like a bond?
Pre-trial release.
All right, I'll release you with pretrial release conditions. You're not to possess any guns or weapons, any drugs or alcohol. You're not to have any contact with Kosi, K-O-S-I, Ali Hassan. And you're not to return, or not to go to, you're to keep a separate residence from him.
Yes, sir.
I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
And can she return to Indianapolis, Your Honor? As long as she maintains contact with her.
Yeah, as long as you maintain contact with your surety as well as your attorney.
Yes, sir.
So you can go home.
I have Texas. Okay. Your name, ma'am? All right, Ms. Cruz, you're here today because you're arrested on a charge of battery, domestic violence. I have reviewed the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at the Wood Hill Park Drive address?
Yes, sir, that's my apartment.
And where does Roberto live?
He lives with his mother at 901 Wilson Ridge Drive.
Your Honor, respectfully, his ID does have the same Woodhill Park address on it.
His state ID should not have that address on it because his name is not on the lease. He did not pay any rent. He's residing with his mother.
But he was there that night?
Yes, sir, I did allow him to stay the night then.
All right, she does also qualify for pretrial release. Do you want PTR, or would you like to have a monetary bond set?
PTR is fine, sir.
All right, I'll release you with pretrial release. No guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. You're not to have any contact with Roberto Cruz.
Yes, sir.
You're to maintain a separate residence from him. If he is at the Wood Hill Park address, you can't go there. You have to keep a separate address. If he is there and he's living there, then you can go there once with law enforcement. And that's what I would suggest you do the first time anyways, to make sure he's not there.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Bobby Manico.
All right, Mr. Manigo, you're here today because you were arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. The International Drive address, were you guys at a hotel or something out there? Or do
Yeah, I
you
have a
live at that address?
Yeah, I have a hotel. Just in here, just came for a birthday weekend in Florida. We're not from here. We both came together.
All right, where do you live?
I live in Denver, Colorado.
All right, so both of you are from Denver?
Yes, we are.
All right. And do you live together in Denver?
No, I have my own place. She has her own place.
All right. He does qualify also for PTR. Would you like to be released with pretrial release conditions, or would you like a monetary bond? Pretrial release requires you to keep in contact with an officer. There's some conditions that go along with that, but you don't have to post any money, so it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, I'll do PTR.
Yes, or,
Yeah,
okay. I'll release you a pretrial, no guns, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol. You're not to have any contact at all with Ebony, Tom. You're to keep a separate residence from her. I have no objection to returning to Denver, but you need to make sure you keep in contact with your surety as well as your attorney. I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
okay. Yeah, we have a flight together. I don't know how that's supposed to work. I mean,
Not to have any contact with her,
okay,
so you might want to change that flight.
okay. Thank you.
Your name, sir?
Jorge May.
All right, Mr. Mayor, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of battery, domestic violence. I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause. Were you living at the Buena Place address?
Yes, sir.
And do you have another place to go?
I can make a call, yes.
Okay, because you're not going to be able to go back there. She's not here. I don't think. Is there somebody coming in? All right, that may change. All right, raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
You need to get closer to the microphone so I can hear you, please.
Yes.
All right, and your name is?
Natalie May.
All right, and you are the alleged victim in the case?
Correct.
All right, what did you want to tell me?
To be honest, you know, he made a wrong decision on just, you know, deciding to hit me. This is not the first time. He has anger issues, he has bipolarness, and I do not want anything to do with him because I'm pretty much putting myself at risk again. He said he was going to change the first time. I believe in second chances. I gave him a second chance in that. And I didn't see that change. And, you know, we moved from where we were, from Ohio, moved down here. And, you know, I was hoping for a new change for, in both of us for us to, you know, to show a better life for my kids. I have 4 kids with him. And it's just not, haven't been easy at all. I'm always accused for everything, and he let his anger get out of him, and I don't know what would be the next time, you know?
Right, okay. I can do as much as I can in order that he not have any contact with you. Has DCF been involved at all with the situation?
Yes, they have.
They are, so have they entered in any orders or anything? As far as visitation or anything like that, or have they talked to you about that?
Not really. They told me that they will, you know, once I come to court, that they'll keep me updated on like what's gonna be the next steps on what's gonna happen. But I haven't gotten anything yet. I know I was 3 hours straight at home with them last night, and they pretty much told me that they'll find a way to help me if I have to be removed from the apartment so he can keep the apartment because it is under his name.
Well, he's not gonna be able to go there right now. I'm gonna leave you there, okay? I'm gonna order, he's not gonna be allowed to go back there. He's not gonna have any contact with you for right now. As far as the child, the kids go, contact with the kids, he can't just call you up. All right, they're either gonna have to find someone else or go through DCF. That's why I asked, that's really the best way to handle it. Okay, so, Mr. May, he is eligible for PTR. Does he want a PTR or a monetary bond?
How much is the monetary bond were you going to set, Your Honor?
500.
Yes, he would like the monetary bond.
All right, I'll set bond amount of $500. I'm gonna order that you have no contact with Miss May, Natalie May, or your children at this point in time, no contact, And you are not to possess any guns or weapons, any drugs or alcohol, and you're to abide by any order or plan that's put in place by DCF. If you have someone else, a third party that could speak with Natalie about the children, that's okay, but only about the children, okay? And I'll appoint a public defender to represent you.
Your Honor, is there a no return and a one-time return?
Yeah, no return to the 89154 Buena Place, number 4103. You can go there one time with law enforcement to get your personal items, some things, that you need. You can't take TVs and furniture, but anything you may need for wherever you're going to be staying. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Your name, sir?
My name is Micah Thompson.
All right, Mr. Thompson, you're here today because you're arrested on charge of a violation of domestic violence injunction.
Yes.
All right, I have read the charging affidavit. I do find there's sufficient probable cause. All right, ma'am, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your name?
My name is Lauren Thompson.
All right, and you're the victim in the case, alleged victim, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you had the injunction against Mr. Thompson, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And what are you here to tell me today?
So my husband is an alcoholic. He went through rehab starting in December, and he was doing good. He got discharged from rehab and was in IOP. He got discharged in January, and everything was going good. The judge that amended the last injunction said that it was a non-hostile communication order.
Yep.
He's having a friend that is close to passing away, and last night he relapsed and was very hostile in his communication last night, but not physical.
Are you concerned? Are you here to tell me that you don't want him to come back home, or that you have no objection to coming home? What is it? What's your position on that?
I am concerned with his alcoholism. I'm not sure what he's capable of if he is continuing to drink. So I am concerned for the safety of my kids and me as well. I have no objection to having him have contact with the children.
But you don't want him to come back home right now?
No.
Okay. You can do that. All right. I'll set on the amount of $500. Do you want him to have no hostile contact with you or no contact with you?
He can have no hostile.
Okay, so he can be in touch, but he can't, obviously, he needs to do that anyways, because that's what the injunction says, but that's what you wish today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Thompson, so I'm going to set on the amount of $500. You're not to have any hostile contact with Lauren or with any of the children. Okay? I think you understand what that means, or you should.
Yes, I do.
All right, but you're not, at this point in time, I'm not going to allow you to go back to the Capes Terre Drive address.
Okay.
You're going to need to find another place to live, have to keep separate residence from her, but you can't have non-hostile contact with her and the kids.
Am I allowed to go back and get a few things?
You can with law enforcement. You can go one time and you pick up whatever you may need to live on the short term. You can go back, all right? No guns, no weapons, and most importantly, no drugs and no alcohol.
Sounds fair.
All right.
I just have one question about me being bonded out. I don't know, because my wife was saying that she was going to bond me out. I don't know that she's planning on doing that again.
You can do that if, that's up to her.
I don't know if I can ask her or not here, or if
Well,
I can ask her.
Are you going to bond him out?
I don't have the money.
Okay, well, there you go. But, I mean, that, she can do that, that's not a problem.
And
But-
I mean, she can get a bail bond, you know.
Yeah, that's true. She can contact a bondsman and they may do it on a percentage. There's any number of numbers downstairs. Okay?
Something she's going to do, or can I talk to her about that? Or?
No. It's up to her. It's a decision that she can make, okay? All righty, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Your name, sir?
Victor Jimenez.
What was her name?
Victor Jimenez.
What happened to Clovers?
I have Jonathan Clowers. Beauty. All right. All right, Mr. Jimenez, you're here today because you're arrested on a warrant for the charges of fleeing, attempting to elude, and resisting an officer without violence. This warrant is from Seminole County. There's no bond on either of those. Seminole County will be made aware that you're here. Your name, ma'am?
Mina Satortapur.
You're also here for out. Just a second. And you're arrested for a warrant out of Seminole County for violation of probation. There's no bond on that. And they'll be made aware of the fact that you're here. Come in.
She has 2 cases.
Oh, does she? Hang on just a
Hold
second.
on. Bring it back.
You also you were on bond on petty theft.
Okay.
He hasn't, he's not done.
Hang on, yeah. That's our case. Is there a bond on the other one? All right. You also there's another case of petty theft case from out of county. There's no bond on that as well. Okay, so you have 2 charges.
That's not me. So I don't have a petty theft.
No, it's another charge. That's not correct. It's just 2 out of county warrants, okay? Stop moving my papers too quickly. Morning. Your name, ma'am?
Natalia Waldron. I'm sorry, I'm really sick, so.
Problem. All right. Miss Waldron, you are here because you were arrested for a warrant for the charge of possession of stolen credit card and fraudulent use of a credit card from Osceola County. There is a bond of $2,500 on the possession of a stolen credit card, $1,500 on the fraudulent use of a credit card. Again, those are out of Osceola County. And you're out on bond, and actually looks like it's a case in front of me. I'll leave that in place.
Excuse me, sir.
Make sure you come to court.
I will. So the bond is my dad already did the bond yesterday.
We don't show that yet, but if that's the case, That's working through the process then.
All right, thank you
Okay,
so much.
okay.
You have a great day. God bless.
Too. Your name, sir?
Cyrus Allen.
Hi, Mr. Allen, you're here for, first of all, a new case for possession of fentanyl. I have read the charging affidavit, and I do find that there's sufficient probable cause on that charge. And the bond on that is $1,000. And second of all, you're here in a violation of probation. You were on probation for the charge of possession of a controlled substance. There is no bond on that, and I'll appoint a public defender on the new violation of probation for you. It'll be set. Yeah, there is not one yet. You'll get one. Your attorney will be in touch. Your name, sir?
Tyrese Davenport. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Davenport, you're here for a couple of things. First of all, you have a new offense. You're arrested for the charges of possession of cannabis more than 20 grams, possession of cannabis with intent, and possession or providing false ID to a law enforcement officer. I did read the charging affidavit and do find sufficient probable cause. Bonds are $1,000 on the possession of cannabis, $150 on the possession with intent, and $100 on the false ID to a law enforcement officer. In addition, you were on probation. Might be community control. But, that probation has been violated and there's no bond on that. I will appoint a public defender to represent you on the new probation violation case.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is the violation a tech?
Well, it's a new offense. You got on-cited for this, make sure.
Even if what if they drop?
Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like Judge Harris actually signed it for violation of community control, moved from your approved residence, whereabouts unknown, so it's absconding. And then, of course, they'll amend it to add this new charge as well, I assume. Your name, sir?
Just Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez, you're here today because you were arrested on a violation of probation for your grand theft and trespass of a conveyance. There is no bond on that violation of probation, and I will appoint a public defender to represent you on that charge. All right, your name, sir?
Brian.
All right, Mr. Kemp, first of all, you have a new charge of driving while license suspended, and I have read the charging affidavit. I do find that there's sufficient probable cause, although looks like your license became suspended January 24th, so it was fairly recent. And bond is set in the amount of $500 on that, and I'll appoint a public defender to represent you on that. You also were on probation. Or community control. Okay, and just had a status hearing on that. Actually, I think you have another one set for March the 20th. I'm going to set a bond on that because the Willis was so recent, and also he has been appearing in court. So I'll set a bond amount of $1,500 on the violation of community control and appoint a public defender to represent you on that as well. Yeah, don't be spreading that around the jail. Is there 3 counts? Yeah. Your name, sir? Man, is it just my computer, or is it? All right, Mr. Reynoso Pena, you're here today because you're arrested on a violation of probation warrant for your possession of firearm. And there is no bond. I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Your name, sir?
Lamar.
All right, Mr. Simpkins, you're here today because you were arrested also on a violation of probation. And oh, there it is, yeah. There is no bond on that. I will appoint a public defender to represent you. Thank you, sir. Okay, 33 days. State of Florida versus Leonardo Lee Garcia Santiago, 2022 CF 15070AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
State of Florida versus James Leslie Coney, 2022 CF 14976AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
State of Florida versus Jonah Zev Weingarten, 2022 CF 14943AO.
Denied, and information was filed.
State of Florida versus Barley Lily Joseph, 2023 CF 233AO.
Granted, it was no billed.